Greetings and welcome to Superb Diamond Range. This is episode 13. Um, we're going to be talking about the man-made system versus nature. Today's date is the 5th of April 2014. I'll let you introduce it, Diamond.
Thank you very much, Superb. And first of all, I'd like to welcome you to the show, Superb, and welcome to our guests, our listeners. And today's topic is a good one because it sort of leads us to we're asking a lot of big questions on today's show. So it's man-made system versus nature, and we're not sort of judging which one's better, but we like a feel of which one is comfortable for certain people and what our role is, because a lot of people do not really realize what their roles are in life, in the system, which is today's system, which goes under Maritime Admiralty law, which has been running for, we're talking over 200 years, which is the laws of the seas, which basically is the laws of contracts, paper, and most people wouldn't have a clue that they are under that. But Superb, we'll start off by asking a question. How do you feel about this system? What is going on in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the system might have been a good idea in the beginning, but it's obviously been corrupted by the people running or behind the system now. So, there was probably some good ideas there to begin with, and it did kind of, it could have made us lead quite good lives, but it seems that, it's been really corrupted, and it seems like it's not as much for our benefit than it is for theirs now. That it seems like we're under their thumb rather than them being under ours in terms of doing the right thing for the people. I would say that a lot of us are a bit unfortunate to kind of know nothing else but the system because we were born into it. Whereas you'd find people that were born in, for example, a tribe in Africa or in Amazon, somewhere like that, would have a different life to what we know, with all the paper and languages and law and things like this.
Totally agree, Superb. And it is a shame in a way, because thinking about the system, if it was totally honest, should I say, would be a great way to live. If it was running the way it should be running, with people benefiting and not being in debt all the time, because we've sort of done our research, and everyone that sort of is born into the system becomes a debtor. Hence the Lord's Prayer. It says, forgive us our debtors. And we seem to think, well, most Bibles, it's changed. It says, forgive us our trespasses. And you're thinking, why would it say, forgive us our trespasses? Why would you want to punish someone that is walking across your back garden? So it's actually, forgive us our debtors. And I've checked it out myself.
There's a statute about that one as well.
Sure. But going back to Superb, when we're talking about previous tribes, and as we know, the system, which controls the media, will always give us a negative story about tribes that lived on the earth. They will always tell you that they were cannibals, that they used to eat each other. There was nothing positive, but a lot of the old tribes, in fact, were killed off. So part of the reason is they cannot share their history as well. So all we've got is his story about everything. And there are certain survivors from tribes that have come out and mentioned how they lived. And, sorry to say, but a lot have been fearful for their life because the few tribe members or descendants of tribe members that are alive, like shamans in South Africa, are meant to be killed because they do not want this sort of knowledge to come out. But, going back to how people lived, these tribes were scattered all over the world. All over the world. And they lived in harmony. And we're talking, they would do things what we would do. They would get married, they would learn, and they would work with nature. There was no need for contracts. So, in our system, we have a third party. And third party being the government, who we basically rely on everything for. We register to get married. We register a birth. So a new one coming into the planet is registered. And register means to give over ownership. That's another trick.
Definitely. But because the native people as well, they're afraid of like the people in the man-made system because they always worry that they're gonna destroy them or break them up and try to get them into using money and sort of bring them into commerce really, because that's what the man-made system is all about, commerce and making profits.
Sure.
Like a lot of native people, you can't even approach them because they don't trust you, and in a way they're right to be like that because you don't know what we're gonna these people can do to you, and you can understand why they would be afraid, and also like they raise their young ones up in a way that they want them to be, and they don't want them to be corrupted by the man-made system or people, and trying to take away their stories, their world kind of thing.
Of course, because one thing we need to respect is they have their cultures, they have their gods, should I say? When I say that, they have their way of communicating with the source, and that should never be dismissed, and that should always be respected. And the system teaches us a few religions, and if you notice, Superb, most of the religions are the same. They come from the same area, and isn't it funny, Superb, how every time there's a war or conflict going on, or a corporate takeover, which is the proper name, when a country goes to invade another country, they wipe them out, and after that they clean them up with the missionaries. So they change their way of belief, the way of thinking, and in doing that, they bring in the system, the money system.
That's right.
So that's happened all over, like the Middle East, Europe, the same thing.
Definitely has. Yeah, I mean, it's just really shocking the way that they sort of they're in their tribes. They're thinking we just want to live like how we're living, but the man-made system always seems to want to destroy that and come in and take over and corrupt it. Just like they've corrupted every institution that ever existed. Even if the institution started off good with good intentions, even the system itself, but the way that it sort of got into the wrong hands, and again, it seems like it's not for the benefit of all the people. Because I always think that you should leave people to do their own thing. You know, if they want to be the way they are, we shouldn't go
Of
around
course,
telling them what to do or how we think they should live. But that's what the system does. You know, it's,
totally agree. Totally agree. But then, it sounds like, as most of a lot of viewers from the system would be listening to us thinking, these guys are mad. Primitive. Do you want to go back to that? And of course, when you think of the system now, the benefits now of the system, okay, you can fly a plane from one land to another. Um, and you have TV, you have radio, you have sports, entertainment. Um, you have good food, what appears to be good food, should I say. And for that kills it. That wins it for most people. The technology over the years has improved so much. So whereas people from the tribes who were living free off the land would have simple boats, but still they can travel from one land to another quite easily because there is no hurry, is there, Superb? There is no clock. There is no such thing as time. So there is no deadline because there's no money to be made.
well, another thing I noticed about the man-made system is that everybody's reliant on everybody else in terms of, you know, I need petrol for my car, so I need to go to the petrol station, and you know, I need you know, the people believe that they need the streets organised, so they contribute money to the council and believe that that goes towards fixing things. You know, we probably know most of it doesn't, or any of it even. But also, like in tribes, they're more self-sufficient, which is something that most people in the man-made system have lost, is the ability to do things for ourselves. And you know, tribes can hunt, they can grow crops, you know, they can do lots of different things that we wouldn't have a clue what to do, and the system wants us to be reliant on them for everything.
That's right. Well, that's
So
the thing. You're right there, Superb, because us, for example, when we went to school, we weren't we were not getting tutored personally. So the way it should be, as a tribe, or a man has a child, he should be, is growing up. His life experience should be going out with his father and learning hands on. Then he'll become a much wiser, stronger, better man.
definitely.
So that famous saying that the world is my school, life is my teacher. That's the real school, is your life. And, you will learn so much more hands-on experience, as you said, Superb.
And also,
You know,
like
you,
in the system, you know, everything's leading towards working or getting a job. And there's, you know, obviously people are all studying and trying to get the bit of paper to help them to get the job. But then when they go for the job, there's hundreds of people applying for it. And, you know, the answer that this government will say is like, oh, we need to create more jobs. And that's the answer. But, you know, as we've realised, that's not going to solve it. That's not, you know, whereas the tribal people, they wouldn't be thinking, you know, let's create jobs or let's create money. They'd be just thinking, let's survive and let's live in peace, like, and live and be connected to nature, which is where
well,
we
for
all
sure,
came from.
exactly. Well, for sure, the tribal people know, and a few in the system know, that there is enough resources, enough space for everyone to have a house. But the system tells us that the world is overpopulated. What is it? 6.5 billion people? Big deal. You can fit that amount of people in one country.
Easily.
But it just looks overpopulated because most of the people are crammed in small areas. But if you travel around most places in the world, all you see is farmland and space and nature. No one's living there. You drive, you go in a car or a train on the motorway. There's no houses there. There's no council estate. You might see a farm every 20 miles of a little village. So for sure. There is, in this planet, you could probably fit maybe 100 billion people.
Easily, easily. Yeah, it's the fact that we rely on everyone for everything. You
Yeah,
know, like your car broke down, you need to find a mechanic. You've got problems with your electrics, you rely on an electrician. But nobody wants to try and learn themselves how to repair things or fix
that's
things.
right.
And as you
And
say, they want it like that. They want us to know nothing and just
that's
focus
right.
on the football and
Well said.
pointless TV. So that
They want those. Yes, well,
yep, go for it.
no, you're right. Sorry to butt in, but
Sorry.
they want those entertaining factors to be our benefits. They didn't want you to learn those things of being self-sufficient. Can you imagine a world where everyone was self-sufficient, where they knew how to make their own heat, by fossils, or generate their own heat, keep warm. Even, can you imagine, people knew how to generate energy to make their cars work, so they do not have to go to petrol stations.
Yeah, rapeseed oil. It's pretty good for that,
Exactly,
lad.
exactly. Yeah, I've heard many
Yeah.
theories too. And isn't it funny that if we were self-sufficient, like the people of the past and tribes, they would be better off, and they knew about medicine because they learnt about plants, the seeds. They knew about how to build houses from trees, making them strong.
Also,
They
like
knew,
the dumbing down as well of like the children through the education system. I mean,
of course.
it's always been pretty bad, but it's much worse now than what it was, and it gets worse, every year. Whereas in the system, everything needs to be explained and needs to be broken down. But the tribes, I imagine they just appreciate things for being what they are rather than what they're about, or what they're made of, and the system
Well,
always
of course.
overcomplicates it. It's
Well, for sure. When when you're out there and you sort of mix with tribal people, they appreciate nature and they love nature and they are nature, as one of our guests said before, of a Christian. And I've had the pleasure to meet a few indigenous people while I was out in that country known as the Philippines. I met the native Filipino who is descended with the originals, not aboriginals, because you corrected me last time, superb. And ab means abnormal, so there's nothing abnormal about people. So, yep, I met the original Filipinos who are called the Aita people. And they were on the land a long, long time before the Filipinos we see now. They welcomed me. They showed me a lot of things. And isn't it funny how you see people fighting, wanting to put their flag up over land, like especially in Mindanao. There's a place called Mindanao where there's a lot of war going on for years. And you think, sorry to say, but it's Muslims against the government. They're trying to claim the land, saying they were there first. And you do not see these native people putting their flag up. And they have every right to, but they know the land doesn't belong to anyone. But isn't it funny how people fight and try to claim land?
that's right, yeah, because the system is all about tricking people into ownership and
Yes,
the belief that you can own everything that with money, and we know that behind the scenes that's not really the case. It's more a case of you have the right of use for as long as the government allows you, basically, until they want to take it. And You know, you've got different things like the inheritance tax, death tax, and
That's
you know,
right.
it just proves that you don't own anything, or if you don't pay your council tax, that obviously they can come and take your house, your car, everything. So, you know, keep believing that you own things, but you know, we know that's not the case, and
That's true.
you're just using them as you go, and that's it. You know, you can't really own anything, and you know, again, if you don't pay the inheritance tax, then property's gone. You know, so unless your family have got the money to pay it, then you know, just again proves to you that it's all make believe. We believe we own stuff, but we don't. We don't own nothing. The only thing we own is our name.
That's it. That's it. And to think as well, also the I'll call them the native people of old. They never had diseases. You know, most of them would die a natural life and die of old age. But there's none of this stress. There's none of this cancer. There's there's people not getting colds. They had a perfect, near perfect diet. Most of them, at worst, would eat fish and fruit and veg off the land. And for sure, you know, they helped each other. They entertained each other. You know, they would share their stories of their ancestors while eating. So their days would have been fulfilled. But whereas the system now,
Just go to McDonald's.
go to McDonald's, you play with a phone, and then you're stressed up thinking about something. Tomorrow I've got to pay a bill. Um, in 6 months' time, I can look forward to a holiday, and then in 25 years' time, I can look forward to paying off for my house. That's not right.
Because we're always under stress in the system, whether it's
Always.
paying a bill or you know debt or whatever, and that's why people in the system enjoy holidays and things like that because it's like a stress release. It's like they forget about their problems for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then they come back and it all comes back again to them how they were feeling before their holiday, and even now
Sure.
people go on holiday and they still feel stressed because they're still worried about what's going on back home, paying
Yep.
their mortgages and trying to pay their rents and so on, and their debts
It's
and
like
credit cards.
for someone from the system. Well, we're in the system, but for someone who's thinking of the system all the time, it's like they've gone to, for them going on holiday is like escaping the prison, like day release, or you know you've got time off for good behaviour, and then they go back to work, which they put the uniform back on, you know, looking the same as everyone else. So that's one way I look at it as well.
Because the ideal situation would be, you know, obviously completely debt free, but in the system, I don't think that's possible because, you know, most people's idea of debt free is not having a mortgage, not having a credit card, but you'll still have to pay for energy, you'll still have to pay your rent, you'll still have to pay for your internet, your TV or whatever,
That's right. That's
broadband,
right.
whatever. So it's like they'll always be asking you for money, basically, in the system, whereas the natural people, the tribal people that you know don't have money and you know they don't have those worries that you know so they live longer. That's another reason why they live longer than
Yeah,
we do.
sure. And the natural people, in a way, have showed us the way of how to live. And it seems like something went terribly wrong where the two met. And over the years, slowly but surely, all those small tribes were killed off, never to be seen again, hopefully, until now. But even until now, in today's history, these people aren't sort of mentioned. Like, people talk about First and Second World War, and also, You know, they talk about how people were treated badly, the Holocaust, slavery, which all were evil events. But I do not hear much, if any, mention of the tribes that have been killed off in the world. You know, the people that showed us the way of how to live, the real warriors. You know, the people, the Red Indians, the African, the originals of Australia, who were just pushed back in the mountains, not to be seen again.
Because in the system, man-made system, it's kind of like you've got to accept everything of it. You can't pick and choose what you like and what you don't like. I mean, if you don't like to pay certain bills, they'll still come for you. You know, you can be less involved in it. You can be kind of a little bit outside it, but there's still the main stuff you gotta do. But obviously, when you live outside of it, you're pretty free to just, you know, until they come for you. But you know, for a time, you're free to kind of like live how you want to live, rather than being dictated to how to live and what to
That's
do
true.
And what to wear. And
That's true. That's true. And it is kind of sickening as well to see that. You know, where you're born into this lovely, lovely, beautiful world, and we're just born as slaves. And coming to one of my thoughts this week, which I think I may have shared with you, Superb. Can you remember?
yeah, I remember receiving it. Very good it was. The
Yeah.
thoughts of the day.
Yeah, and the line was, there's a bit in the Bible where it says, "Honor thy parents," and you think to yourself, at the time you think, "Oh yes, I honor my mother and father," but then when you think about it, who are your parents really? Your parents are the third party, the government. Because people are honoured, they're proud to wear a uniform. You know, they're proud of their football team. But most of all, I'd like to break this one down, Superb, if you do not mind.
Sure.
Now in this system, as you know, a country is a corporation. So, England, for example, big corporation. America, a big corporation. And now they've got us, everyone, in every country, to think that they are only connected with that place. Everyone else is an alien. So everyone else is an alien to their own planet. Hence, you need a passport to travel. So they've got us even more now. Can you imagine when you came to this planet, Superb? You know, your mother was in England at the time, where you came from before. Did you need a passport to get to your mother?
No.
You know what I mean? On the way somewhere, did someone catch you? Where you going, son? I don't think so. Go back. No. You're a free spirit, but all of a sudden you've come here, bluff. That's where the fun ends.
Wow.
So yes, honor thy mother, honor thy parents, as it says in the Bible. And if you really, really check it out, your parents would be the government and the country.
And they're
Monarchy.
the ones you go to ask permission. You know,
Exactly.
You know.
Everything. You took the words out of my mouth, Superb, because when you get married, you would ask your mother or father, "Can I get married?" And who else do you ask? You get permission from the state. The third party should be someone neutral, like your parents or a friend. But the third party have made themselves, have forced themselves onto us, which is the government.
That's right.
Driving license, every other license, which, as we know, we're handing over ownership. So when we sign that birth certificate, we're handing over ownership of that life, that vessel, to the government.
Definitely become a lot more responsible for things once you fill the form in. You know,
Yes.
you imagine that the tribal people wouldn't have any of that. They'd be born on the land, literally.
Do you think the tribal people would chop down all those trees to send letters to each other?
No
they
way.
would rather chop those trees down for what it's meant for fire, to keep warm, or to build houses.
Invaluable,
Yeah.
you know, to them. Like, but to us, people, man-made system, not us, but people, behind the system would put a value on it instead of it being invaluable and there for a reason, for oxygen, to keep us warm or to grow food on. It's like they would, try and put a price value on it, and it goes up and down, and there's a sale on it and so on.
That's true. That's true.
Instead of just leaving things as they are, like invaluable gifts from the Creator that you can't put a price on, but they've convinced us that they can put price on land because they convinced us that we can own land.
Well, it is sad to see, but they've tricked us in everything. Not only us, our parents before. He thought they were doing the right thing, being honest. But if you really check it out, Superb, all this segregation of belonging to a country has made us believe that we're not brothers and sisters to people of other lands. We all came from the same place. Hence, their mothers were in a different land, and we all came from the same place.
Definitely.
So we could have been born anywhere, but because of the land, we are alien to each other now.
Definitely. Because one of the things that I noticed regarding it was that, people now get so into their country of origin, supporting their local team, that, or maybe even some people would argue within religions that they, can only talk to people in that religion, and everyone else, they're not allowed to speak to, which is like, another way for us to forget where we came from, and we all came from the same source.
That's true. That's true. They've actually lost the plot.
Because anybody that uses religion as an excuse, or where they're born, to not talk to somebody has got problems, because, we should all be together as one. We should all get along really well. We shouldn't use those excuses to not want to get along or work together.
Well, when people were living in tribes before, man was more forward. Now we have religions, which is like a common sort of belief for the whole land. Man has become more backward still. Definitely. He's saying, my one is the truth. And it seems, the people who have got this system going are really, 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 really smart, because in, the Middle East, it'll be all one religion. So in this part of the world, the people seem to stick together. Okay, we look the same, and we're the same religion, we're brothers. And so they've got us fighting that way too.
Because I don't believe that the intention was that, but I just think that they've used it as an excuse to divide us, because me personally, I would talk to anybody of any religion, and I've got no problem where they're born, what country they're from. But it just seems like a lot of people fall for that, and then, they say, oh, this country is going to be like terrorists and so on. But I never buy that. I always believe that, they're being set up to try and, make them look like the enemy when they're not.
Yes.
And, really and truly, the real enemy is like the corporations that are,
Of course,
causing all the problems.
of course.
Um,
So superb. We at the start we said we didn't want to sound biased of the system, man-made system versus nature, but I think me at least I'm coming across that way. So apologies for that. But it is. I am really comparing, but because we know the system could have been engineered. Well, it was engineered to fail because it's not working, and it should be working. But you have people in the UK that have theories, and the free man theories, which has been quite. It's like a movement, and a lot of it is true because they actually refer to dictionaries, Black's Law, which is volumes 1 to 9, which has a language what judges and solicitors use, which is called legalese, what they use in the courts, and they also use the King James 16 AD Bible, which is also the best. I bought myself a copy, and I've seen a few things myself. But the free man would talk about claiming their right, and a lot of people, as we know, superb, have tried to claim their right by sending letters to corporations, and in most cases with no effect. People trying to discharge debts because we both know that we're not slaves to anyone. We shouldn't be in debt to anyone. We owe no one anything.
Definitely, it's true.
And your thoughts on that, superb? Like people trying to work this movement, the
Yeah,
people trying to separate themselves. Do you think it can work? Start a community of their own?
yeah. I mean, again, it's good to start communities, but obviously fighting against the other side or battling them, as we know, it doesn't seem to work because they sort of get energized from it. And again, I don't believe we have any masters, other
Yes.
than maybe you could say the creator who made us, But to me, it's like it is another type of. It can be a good thing. There's positives that have come out of it, and it definitely teaches people to, realize their power within the system. That we can do things and we can, but it doesn't seem to work for everybody. And sometimes they say if you don't do it right, that it can lead to getting into trouble, being uh, behind bars, and it all depends on how far you want to go, really, and how much you trust the information that you get. It definitely teaches us good things. I just my angle why I wouldn't be so crazy about it is it's all to do with commerce, and to me a lot of the problems in the world come from commerce, and people trying to battle like over money and banks, and if you go to court, it's all about money. So to me, it doesn't really feel like the right thing to be doing. To me,
Of course.
the best route is to, if you want to get away from it, it's just to get out of it completely and stop using their system.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
easier said than done. A lot of us are
So
compromised, and
so that would be like the ideas of our previous guests, Arthur Christian and Fiona, which I believe would be the way forward. Because another thing on Superb Diamond Range, we're asking questions and we're also trying to give solutions also, because everyone has the solution. We do not need people to think for us. People have a common belief that someone from the clouds is going to come down and save them.
Superman or somebody like that's going to come, right? Or
That's the one.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people believe that, but we're here, we're now. We've got to do something here
Exactly.
and now.
Exactly.
Can't be
Exactly.
waiting.
Exactly. Because that same story will be going in. We'll be going by like thousands of years to come. It'll be the same story, different names for sure.
Definitely.
Because if you look at the good book, I've learned and studied it and learned so much from different people. Before I used to think, oh man, this is a book that should be just sort of be swept aside, but it actually, especially the New Testament now, makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's all
And it
all pretty relevant to even today, even though it's 2,000
certainly
years
is.
old.
Certainly is. Certainly is. And there's some of the, if you look at the parts, these stories, what happened back then, they're happening now.
Definitely.
And you look at the life of the great man Jesus, and you think of people who just want to be free, because Jesus was just the man that was just his example was showing people how to live freely.
Just like the
Some
tribal people are doing.
exactly getting back to that,
Yeah.
and he was, as you said, taken to court. And what did the courts do? Nothing. And what do the courts do when people want to be free? Nothing. And he was arrested, and just like in the Matrix, the people who arrest him, and they're just taking orders. The people giving these people beats, military people, and I remember one thing what Jesus said. He said, "Forgive these people; they do not know what they are doing."
Yeah,
And
I
that's the
remember
people.
that.
That's the people in the system. They haven't got a clue what day it is, but they think they're doing the right thing because they've got a job and they're just being selfish, thinking of their families. They think being a good man is thinking of your family only, no one else, or someone from your religion or your community.
Because I was discussing with somebody recently in regards to when you go into a shop that not all the time, but sometimes you get they're really nice to you there, and they really want you to buy their products, so they'll go all out of their way. But if you meet the same guy or girl in the shop outside in the street, they wouldn't even want to know you. Like they're just
Of course,
performing for the job, and
of course,
you like to believe that they're going to be the same in the shop floor as they are outside on the street, but they're not. So it just proves that when they're operating in that uniform in the system, they're just acting, and not always. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's people out there that don't change much, but it just feels like but then on the other side of that, you've got places like council offices, um, you know, and the people there are very very rude and don't have any social skills, or they don't actually want to tell you what you can do, and they'd rather keep the knowledge from you, kind of thing,
of
because they're
course,
told by their superiors, save money, don't tell them what you can get or what you deserve. They want to keep everything private, so that you kind of don't use their system, or which I think is a shame, because everybody should have full disclosure. You should know everything.
totally, totally. Well, there is something serious what they are hiding, because how can someone sit proudly as a king or queen in a country and see people in the land starving every day? No home, no food. They can't keep warm. They die on the street. And the people who live in houses pay their bills, say, well, tough on them. Why don't they get a job? That's the sort of mentality they want. And that's the sort of mentality you see working in these government places,
Definitely.
military, police, everywhere, in fact. These are the ones that hold the matrix, keep it running. You do not want to see it changed. Can you imagine, Superb? You know, going back to nature.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone living in a tribe being homeless?
No way.
What reason would he be homeless now? Okay, he might have got off with someone's wife. Then he's got the whole land to find some, you know, go run somewhere and escape
Exactly.
if he fares through his life. But
Another thing I noticed about the sort of tribal people or original people is that their life is more simple, in not in a bad way, in a way like the system is overcomplicated. There's so much information in the system, so many books, so many laws, so many things, ways to do things, and but in the tribal world, um, I'm not saying that it's simple as in like, there's nothing they can do. But what I mean is it's so overcomplicated, the system. There's so many
yes,
things you can do in it that you don't know what to do, what the right thing to do is. Whereas the tribal people keep it simple, and sometimes simple is better because you can
of course,
appreciate things for what they
of
are.
course.
It's like a meal. You could chop loads of ingredients into it and keep adding and adding more ingredients, and you might not
Yes,
remember what you're eating, but if you put a few ingredients in, you'll appreciate the few ingredients that you have, and it will make a nicer
that's
meal.
true.
Whereas if you
That's
put
true.
loads of ingredients in, it won't, kind of,
That's
you won't know
true.
what you're eating.
It's you. That's a good point there, Superb, because you find people would put a lot of sugar in food and think that is good taste, or make something really, really spicy, and they would tell you, "Oh man, that meal was really spicy. It blew my guts out. Oh, I love it. I want another plate next week." And that's sick. Or it's a bit sort of similar to when someone says, "Oh, I had about 25 pints last night. I couldn't remember anything." And that is that is good for them.
Yeah,
That's a sort of sick mentality people have.
definitely. Um, but yeah, I think ultimately my final thoughts on it would be, the natural way is a much better way. It's just a shame that we've lost that and that we need to kind of get back to that. But there are ways to kind of get more closer to it again, and moving away from the cities is one. Trying to grow vegetables and that kind of thing. So I think that it's not lost forever. We can regain that, and I think
Oh,
we
I
will.
believe we will. I believe it will. We will get it back. And it starts with the vibration of a few people. But people like us, many people we know already, and we are the lights in our lives. And let's just stay positive. Let people see what we're doing. There's no need for us to fight people because, as the great man said, they do not know what they're doing. They, they want to put us in prison or lock us up for thinking, or for we know we're free, and they want to actually manhandle us and tell us we're not free. And and they're the same people that tell us slavery's over. But
And that you're free.
yes, exactly. But yes, these people, like as you said before, a simple life, the best way. They may not have read books or been great readers, but for sure they were a lot wiser because they knew everything about the land. I would rather know everything about the land, what's on it, the soil, how to grow, fertilize, how to make a boat, sail, work on the waters, than to read and do nothing, to be honest.
Or play PlayStation.
Yeah. These people are fit, they're strong. So, they had a day's work. They still have to work to keep a good standard of living. But the good thing is there was no jealousy because there was no debt, there's no stress because there's no money. There's no debt. There's no debt. There's no third party who thinks they own us.
That's right.
So Superb, my question to you. Nature versus man-made system.
Nature all the way.
All the way. You know, nature for me too superb, because it breaks my heart to see people living in a system who are homeless. And, you know, they're dying on the streets, and also they're sick, no food, and there's abundance for everyone on this planet. So it's a thumbs down for man-made system. I would rather lose the cars, the planes, factories. I'd rather see people have a home, work the land, and love each other. No money as well. No need for it.
All right. Well, that was a great show, Diamond, and I'll just give our listeners our contact details again. Obviously, our website is superbdiamondrange.com. Sorry, superbdiamondrangepodcast.com. Our Twitter is superbdiamondra or superbdiamondra. And you can email us at superbdiamondrange@gmail.com. Hope you're enjoying the show so far, and thanks very much for listening.
Thank you very much, listeners, and we look forward to doing another podcast. And keep in tune, and hopefully any ideas, feel free to give us any ideas for a topic, and we look forward to doing some more interviews too. So thanks again. God bless you all. Peace out.
Peace out.